let me talk about something that put me in a very negative mood for a long period. I mean, it's only been a couple of hours, but still, it's made, I think, a profound impact on me.
Ooh, is it a piece of real cinema?
It is. Would you like to know what I finished?
Yeah.
I finished Apocalypse Now, the final cut.
This is the end, beautiful friend.
Oh boy, where does one begin?
At the start.
I would say at the end. You were talking about how it made you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been fucked up by this?
Yeah, it's a fucking harrowing movie.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot to say about this. This is Francis Ford Coppola. This is Martin Sheen. I couldn't figure out who it was for a very long time. I was like, is this a Charlie Sheen? It's not.
It's not.
It's a Martin Sheen.
It's his father.
I don't think I've seen either of them in anything, so that was even more difficult to puzzle out who was who.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people in this where I was like, who are you? I think I know who you are.
I spent so long looking at Harrison Ford's face being like,
What?
that's Harrison Ford, but he's tricking me because he's got glasses. But I'm pretty sure.
Clearly you haven't seen Indiana Jones.
I have seen it once, and I know he's got glasses.
He's got glasses
until he
as a
doesn't.
sexy professor.
Yeah.
There were people like the kid that's on the boat. Lawrence Fishburne.
Didn't clock that till the credits rolled.
I
did not know that.
I had like a subtle bit. I was like, that's the guy from The Matrix. I can't remember his name because he looks so different. But
the guy
I wasn't
from
sure.
Predators.
Predator. Yeah, honestly, that came to mind first.
Honestly, Predator came to mind a fair bit during this one, but we can talk about that later.
Oh, it's set in jungle, big jungle.
Yeah.
Who else did it have it? Well, obviously,
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando. Maybe the first thing that I've seen him in.
What?
I thought that Marlon Brando played the main guy. So
Me too.
For ages, I was like, I'm waiting for his face to kind of look more
The first
like
20
Marlon
minutes, I
Brando.
was like, it's not giving Marlon Brando.
Yeah, because I know Marlon
unhinged
Brando.
enough.
I only can really imagine his face in two ways.
Oh, yep.
The Godfather.
Uh-huh. Have you seen it?
No. And the big poster of Marlon Brando that they have in the queer club on Smith Street, Melbourne, Yaya's.
That took you a while. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got all the components right.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they have a big image of Marlon Brando, and I think it might even be one of the photos from Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
But not
How can you
old
tell it's
Marlon
him?
Brando. How can I tell it's him?
If it's him in Apocalypse Now, it'll just be a black screen with some vague yellow lines on it.
I think it's one of the photos of when he was a soldier, but I might be wrong. It might be from something completely different because there's a lot of different photos of Marlon Brando in this.
That's true. Is it him?
All of them are him.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Okay, let's actually get into it about this film. Reuben, what is this film about?
Okay.
And what was it based on?
Yeah, I've got you covered. Don't worry. I'm going to set you up real nice and good.
Great.
This is Francis Ford Coppola's 1979 war/horror film. It's loosely based on Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which was a film about a man going up a river in the Belgian Congo to find a man who'd gone bonkers for ivory. Mm-hmm. But instead it's about a American intelligence operative going up a river in the American Vietnam to find a man who's gone bonkers for not ivory, just nothing, just for murder and blood.
Oh, yeah.
So that's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, Martin Sheen plays the main character, Captain Willard, and I guess that it's like a psychological horror bad trip film where it's full of haze and mist and violence and nonsense, and it's a critique of the American military imperialism in Vietnam, really. And it becomes more and more unhinged as they get further into the jungle and further away from civilization, Conrad would call it. And there's also a lot of discussion about how like they can't really go home, or that home will never be what it was to them now that they've seen the horror.
The horror.
Is that a fair
Yeah.
summary?
No, that sounds like a fair summry. We have a ragtag crew, ragtag cast of
They're
characters.
rags by the end.
We have Willard. We have the captain of the boat.
There's 4 people on the boat.
There's 4
5 people on the boat.
There's 6 if you count the dog.
I don't. I said people.
Oh. Well, maybe you should have more of a heart for animals and consider them, I don't know, valuable, credible, countable lives.
Or maybe some people should have more respect for humans and count them.
Good point. The reason I say that is there was a bit at the end, which I will talk about later, that is fucking harrowing. So then there's the captain of the boat. Then we have the 17-year-old kid, played by Lawrence Fishburne. We have, I can't remember a lot of these characters' names. Can you?
We have Chief. We have the Lawrence Fishburne.
Yep.
We have Chef, who's a guy who is a saucier. He just wants to cook, but he got drafted. And then we have his name starts with L. He's a surfer dude, Lance, the Californian surfer dude.
Wasn't it Clean? Wasn't his name?
Yes, Clean was the name of the
Clean is
kid.
Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah.
And
And
then we have Martin Sheen's Willard.
yeah, and they all kind of represent different things, I guess.
Yeah.
I think Lawrence Fishburne's Clean was probably one of the more interesting.
100%.
Chef was also, I don't know, they're all interesting. I don't know where to start with this film. We have those characters. I'm going to move on from those characters for a second. I'm going to move on to a standout for me, which was this military leader, general guy with a cowboy hat.
Kilgore,
who we see pretty soon into this film on the mouth of the river. He helps our crew get onto the river by just like picking up the boat and dropping it into the river with a helicopter. And he's fucking obsessed with surfing. And Lance, one of the people in the crew, he is a famous surfer from California that Kilgore is a fan of. And it's like, oh, I need to see you surf. We have waves here in Vietnam, or we don't have a lot of good ones, but here where we're dropping you off in this war zone where we're actively bombing the village near the mouth of the river. There are great waves. Here's a surfboard. Here are some board shorts. Fucking surf while bombs are being dropped on you. Insane.
Crazy.
Insane, man.
Yeah.
But it really points out the, I don't know, that character, he really seems to want to make home.
Yeah. They have later that night, they have a party.
Yeah.
They have a beach party.
Yeah, to make it feel like America. They have a guitar.
Yeah.
That
Snags on the Barbie. But yeah, it highlights the absolute insanity. Like everything Kilgore does is crazy. He's the first one we meet who's really drunk on the power and the violence of it. Like at one point he's like trying to save a Vietnamese civilian who they've blown the guts out of, and he's like, no, any man who's held on this well deserves a chance to drink from my canteen.
They have their guts coming out, and they're holding it on with a steel bowl.
And he's like, no, I'm going to give him a drink from my water bottle. And then something distracts him, and he just stands up, drops, never addresses it. The kid doesn't get the water, and he's going to go on to die, no question about it. And then you'll see him doing acts of, like, when there's a mother and a baby who are running, he will like make sure they get into a helicopter, but then will also bomb an entire village full of school kids. Like it's just the hypocrisy, the nonsense, the non sequiturs.
And that's what this whole thing is about.
Yeah.
And our main character, there's a voiceover in this film of inner dialogue. I think we need more of those. Give me more inner dialogue voiceovers. They're great. They're fun. I don't know, there's something just obviously intimate about it. And I think it definitely, the reason why it's in here, or one of the reasons, is because it is an adaptation of Heart of Darkness. And I didn't realize how much of a straight adaptation it was. But in a bit of that, Willard talks to himself and says, there's a massive hypocrisy here. We'll bomb people and then give them a Band-Aid afterwards. And that is what keeps us Americans feeling like we're still good people. There's a bit later on where they come across a small Vietnamese boat on the river, and they board it to see if it's
procedure
to check it for any, I don't know, weapons or anything like that. And one woman who's on the boat makes a big move to sort of, I don't know, rush for a basket or whatever. Doesn't have anything bad in it, but they just start shooting. They just mow down everyone, and then she ends up still being a bit alive. So they're like, well, we obviously need to take her to the hospital now, get her to a medical boat so her life can be saved. Even though you were just shooting at her.
Yeah.
You were just pointing this massive machine gun mounted on this boat at her to kill her. Like, well, she's injured. We need to help her. And Willard, instead, because he's like, well, I need to get up the river and I don't have time for this, shoots her to just get it over and done with. And everyone on the boat is fucking in shock. Like, how dare you murder someone in cold blood like that? It's just a difference between being ordered to kill someone and killing someone out of your... Like, if you tell someone to kill someone and they do it, that wasn't them who decided to kill you. And that wasn't the person who made the order, because that's just what needs to be done, and they're not actually doing it themselves.
This is what all of the Nazis said at the Nuremberg trials.
Yeah. So it's just, there's a lot of stuff like that. And yeah, with Kilgar and the person who needed water, he's like, well, obviously we should give him water. That was actually based on a real situation.
I bet it was. It's fucking grim.
A real-life US soldier was quoted as saying, any soldier who can fight for 3 days with his insides out can drink from my canteen anytime, because there was a Viet Cong who fought while keeping his entrails strapped into his belly with an enamel cooking pot.
Just awful.
Awful stuff.
Awful conditions. And I mean, just in case we haven't been super 100% explicit about exactly what happens in this film, the American military, unprovoked, does a lot of murder of a lot of civilians.
Yeah.
And as we know about counterinsurgency and counterterrorism operations since, I don't know, the last 70 years, we know they're very complicated. We know that there are real terrorists in there, and Coppola even shows that. Like at one point, one of the Vietnamese civilians does throw a grenade into a helicopter. However, I don't think it gives you a mandate to machine gun, napalm, and bomb everyone in that village. Like, I just want to make sure that we say that as a framing before we go any deeper in, because I don't know if we very explicitly said there is state-sponsored, very violent mass murder here.
Yeah.
That's the thing that happens plot-wise.
It feels, I don't think I've ever I don't watch a whole lot of war movies, but I don't think I've seen a movie that makes me feel grosser about war.
It was very uncomfortable. I think that it's up there with like Children of Men, 1917, All Quiet on the Western Front, the German one from a couple of years ago. But it is a very particular flavor of yuck. I think that so much of it is practical and that it's on film. That it's on film does have an effect. You can feel that stuff. I know film nerds always we're on about this, but it's true. It's deeply uncomfortable in a specific way.
And I do want to touch on that. It feels practical or it is practical. One thing about this is the film. They didn't have any film processing where they were filming it in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So they didn't see a single shot of this until they took it back to the US.
Wow.
So they were just shooting blind.
Wow.
Which is
That's
absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
But it does feel really real, like they're really doing these explosions, I guess. There were also, when we were watching the credits, there were 4 stunt people listed.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's insane.
That's crazy. What about the ones who were on fire jumping out of a helicopter?
Yeah. I don't know, but it feels really harrowing because it looks really real, and the special effects, I guess, like the practical effects are really, really great. I was going to leave it till later, but I'll mention it now because we're on it. There's a shot at the end when a cow is being cut into by people, and it's very, skip ahead if you don't want to hear this, like skip ahead a minute, cut into with like machetes, and it's like right on the shoulders and in the back. And it is you're fully cutting into it. It's a live cow or a live bull even. I think it's a bull. And it had been tied, but it was still standing. And it's just disgusting to watch. And it's happening because the murder of a person is happening at the same time. But I never do this while watching a film. I had to look away. I fully was like, I cannot watch this happen. It was, I don't know what it was about it, but it just killed me. It was so bad.
I just want to quickly praise the sound design. Yeah. Because there's a period in this movie that goes for I don't know how long, could be at least an hour, like right from like Ride of the Valkyries in the helicopters up to when Clean dies.
Yeah.
And the movie does not shut up. It's got sound effects. It's got like melodic or orchestral music.
Yeah.
It's got like this whiny electronic guitar. It's got a percussion score. People are yelling. Even the quiet sections when they're just floating down the river, there's always the ambient sound of the scene and at least one other thing going on.
Yeah.
And it was some of the best sound design that I'm sure it wasn't some of the best sound design that I've experienced, but it was some of the best sound design that I've noticed because I was so claustrophobic and uncomfortable. Yeah. And even when there were quiet moments of the plot, I couldn't breathe out or fully, I don't know, I just thought it was really effective of having my body emulate what the characters were feeling.
Yeah. This was I think the movie went for 3 hours and 3 minutes or something. It was 183 minutes, which is quite a bit longer than the original cut. We also saw it in IMAX, so that was a cool experience.
So freaking loud. Helicopters
Really
are so
loud.
loud.
But yeah, seeing it on the big screen for that long, despite it being a long movie, and I recognized while I was in it that it was so long, it's not that I didn't care, but I was enjoying it so much that I was happy for it to keep going. Yeah.
I have pacing complaints.
You have pacing
But
complaints.
it's your section. And I haven't given you a chance to say much.
No.
yet.
Tell me pacing complaints, because I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I guess you could argue that anytime you're thinking about how long the movie's going for, there are pacing issues. But
Maybe. It depends how you come to it too. Full disclosure, I was very tired. I had 2 huge days. So I was going to be tired by the end of this movie. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. Like the first few scenes, I was like, oh no, is it just going to be sweaty men in rooms? But then once the descent into madness got going and the critique of Americans got going, I was like, I'm on board. I critique an American all the time.
all right.
Sorry, I'm just being an idiot. I really enjoyed that whole middle section.
Yeah.
And then we get to the French plantation.
Yeah.
Now, normally, I'm a huge fan of like characters in the movie philosophizing about the theme of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of characters
scene?
just arguing what it's about.
Yeah.
The dinner scene in Dune, the Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk conversations.
The Born Again trailer.
Yeah, the first half of Civil War before they stopped doing that. Everything Everywhere All at Once has some quite explicit just like statements of the theme. Even the bits in The Matrix that I don't understand where it's French people sitting around a table talking about philosophy. Anyway, this was that and I didn't like it. I think that taking a break from the descent into madness at that point is an interesting choice, but I don't think it's the right one. Where it's only them, they're whittling down, one by one they're dying, it's just them in the empty jungle, and then there's like some Western civilization. It feels wrong pacing-wise. I know that plot-wise it's because they've gone over and right near Cambodia, and it makes sense.
Gone into Cambodia,
But
yeah.
I don't like Newsom's pacing. I think it throws the characters off. Willard is still completely passive in that whole scene. There's also some weird sex in there, which is fine, but I don't understand what purpose it serves.
I mean, we don't see any sex. We see them smoking crack.
Yeah. And then from there, that kind of killed it for me. Because then we jump straight back into what is meant to be the descent into madness. But it's like, why do we have this weird hiatus? Here's what I will say that you may not know. That sequence was not in the original. Then in Apocalypse Now Redux, Coppola added a heap of shit, made it 202 minutes, and then this is his final cut. Now, I think this is the wrong choice. Coppola's son is in this scene, and I think that's why he likes it. And there's interesting things going on here, but I think it throws the pacing off. It's not just the length of the movie. It's the fact that they have crafted this beautifully scripted descent and like narrowing and geographically traveling up the river, embodied way traveling inwards to like the soul of man or whatever, traveling into the heart of enemy territory, like plot wise.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of stop all of that. I think that the pauses that happen already when they're just parking the boat on the bank of the river are perfectly pitched. I think that the Mango Tiger expedition is perfect. I don't know. And then the end was really long.
Can I talk about the French bit though for a bit? I quite liked it, and for a couple of reasons. But the way I see it is it's weird, it's strange, it kind of bleeds into the like magical realism, I feel. Where it's like you're going down this hard darkness, it's getting darker and darker and darker. And then what is this quote unquote beautiful Western place that seems magical in this, terrible area that we're venturing down? I think a lot of stories have this kind of thing. It's almost like you're walking in the desert and you haven't had water for days, and then you see a mirage of an oasis. It's that, and it's like, that you are losing your mind as you go further and further. Does this make sense?
This makes sense, yeah. I get it. And I think in isolation, and even in the context of the film, the sequence is interesting, but it's like
I think the point is like, why is this here?
I wish I'd watched the original cut of this movie before I saw anything else.
Right.
However,
I like the why is this here thing.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
Like, what is this doing here? What is the reason? I think that's kind of, it embodies the message of the movie as a whole. It's like, why are they here? What are they doing in Vietnam and Cambodia and making this harrowing sort of war for themselves, even though none of them like it. Nobody's there enjoying it, or if they are, then they've fucking lost their mind.
Yeah.
I don't
I just think it's a stronger film without it. It made me think instead of feel, which is okay. But
the
yeah,
whole film,
I just think it's a stronger film without it.
I was thinking. Also, I really like the irony of it because we have, I don't know, the French patriarch of the household saying, we're here because we fucking lost a bunch in a bunch of wars, and this is one thing that we're going to win, and we're going to hold fast here, and this is our place. It's ours. We own it. You don't own it, but whatever. But like saying this, we have strength in this, but literally the whole table of his family is arguing about it. And whether the people at home are socialists or communists, and whether it's rebellious or not, like it shows that it isn't a united front.
Everyone leaves that table.
Yeah, literally everyone fucking pisses off because they get so upset. But saying no, we're here because it's strong and it's ours. Like that's what's going to hold us together. It's like no, because it's fundamentally built on fucking nothing. Like of fragments of a structure, of fragments of a foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And I think the end is too long. I think it should go straight from the first meeting with Kurtz to like cage and murder.
What?
Yeah.
No. Oh, yeah. I liked all of that. I really liked how Marlon Brando was in shadow for a lot of it. You never actually saw his face.
Amazing cinematography all the way through this film, actually.
Absolutely incredible. And I liked every little bit. The bit that we saw him, but the bit where we saw him, Marlon Brando with the camouflage face, drop the head of Chef on his lap. You're saying cut that?
No, I'm saying go straight to there.
No, but he's not in the cage.
Oh, he's not?
No.
No.
He's just tied up on the
outside. I'm
outside.
saying keep the good bits, according to my personal subjective opinion.
I think without all of that, we don't see at the end with Willard when he finally, finishes his mission, does the kill. I don't know if you noticed, but his face is in the light, and then he like turns a little bit, and then a lot of his face is in shadow, and he's shot the same way that Marlon Brando's character is. I
do think it was interesting how much by the end I wanted him to do it, which was partly like I would like this scene to be over, but it was also like do it, you coward, or something. Like I had, I don't know. There's no right choice there. Everything is just nonsensical violence in the middle of nowhere. But I was like surprised by how invested I was in like it being quote unquote worth something, even though it was such a worthless mission and the whole American expedition was bonkers. I was like, some part of me was holding on to like the righteous course of action, which was like take out the guy who's the most bonkers, which is like, why does it really matter? Like, why do I feel so strongly? Am I meant to feel this way? Yeah. How did you feel by the end?
I felt I didn't know if I wanted him to kill him or not. I mean, what's his name again, the Marlon Brando character?
Kurtz.
Kurtz was doing more for the war than any of the Americans were. It was very much what was the reason for being in Vietnam again?
Stop the Viet Cong.
Right, okay.
Because then there's gonna be a bunch of dominoes. So first Russia, now China, then Vietnam, then who? Then everyone. We're gonna have a communist Australia.
Yeah. But it was like they were just sort of there. There were points where there were battalions there without any sort of leader, and they were just fighting for the sake of
That was a
fighting.
spooky scene on the bridge. That was scary.
Yeah.
That was deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah. I know you described it as a horror movie. I wouldn't really see it as horror, but I definitely get that.
It's closer. Well, it's a war movie until it's not.
Yeah. Anyways, by the end, I didn't have an opinion on whether that kill should be made. I was kind of like, I just want everyone to get out of here. But I was also like, I don't like any of these characters now.
Yeah.
Or the ones that I did like, or I think could be redeemed, are dead.
Or have gone insane.
So it wasn't really like, oh, I want them to get out. I didn't really want them to die either. I don't know. I just think that it made it feel very complicated and was a good reflection of reality in that. And I think it's really cool that Francis Ford Coppola saw Heart of Darkness and saw it as that could be a story that was so well matches the Vietnam War, which was happening. When did this film come out?
This came out in 79.
79. And the Vietnam War ended in 75, started in 55, 20 years.
Wow.
When did you say it came out again?
67. Oh, it came out 79.
79. Yeah, so not too long after. So I think that was matched very well.
There is another criticism of this film that has been leveled at it, which is that the things that the novella Heart of Darkness does wrong, this also does wrong, as in not giving agency to the indigenous people, kind of assuming that they're all the same by filming it in the Philippines and being like, you look Asian.
Sure.
And like just generally being like, yeah, well, it's a story about like the downfall of the American psyche and the deeply wrong war that they are persecuting. It's definitely not a positive depiction of the American war, but it's also from a completely American perspective.
It is. I do think that this is interesting because it's kind of the opposite of my Oppenheimer take, which was like, but what about the Japanese
perspective?
Yeah, but I think this is very much, this doesn't glamorize war at all, or it doesn't even, I've spent a lot of time in this film thinking about this movie versus contemporary movies, like current movies that are coming out and their inclusion of military. And a lot of films, the way that they're able to use F-115s or the fucking tanks or whatever is they have contracts with the military that say,
we'll make you look good.
Yeah, the military needs to look good.
Yeah.
I guess they had different rules back in 79, but it really feels so much different. Like, so, where was I going with this?
War looks bad.
War looks bad. Oh, the thing about the I think that there's probably a justification as to why they didn't film it in Vietnam, because there was just a big war there.
Yeah.
And it came out in 79, but they would have been filming this right after it was, it just ended, or maybe even before it ended. So and I think that it fucking shows Americans as insane people.
It does.
Like, it's from an American perspective, but it's a self-critique, and it's not even a critique of like, this one man was bad, or this system that we have is bad. It's just like the fundamental ideology is cooked.
Yeah.
And people who are going against that but were still brought up in that and are seen as insane, they're cooked, and also we see them as cooked in a wrong way. Like, yeah.
And also they can't escape it.
They can't, yeah.
Like that poor kid who's 17 has been stuck on that boat for 7 months.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to start to succumb to the conventional assumptions of the time. Like, you have to take, I don't have to, but I can't imagine a way to not take on the bonkers ideology that keeps people some semblance of sane in a place like that.
Yeah, yeah. I want to touch on one more thing. The weird Playboy bit in the middle.
Oh, and they cut another Playboy bit later.
Yeah, what?
I'll talk about it.
Oh.
Tell me.
That feels like the French bit. To me, you're
Yeah.
going through the boat and you're like, what is this big stadium? It's America. That's what fucking America is. I think one of the reasons why I like the French bit is that's what America is. You're like going through nothing, and then all of a sudden there's this big fucking eccentric opulent stadium or fucking art podium for this American value.
Yeah, I like that
Sex
scene.
in this case.
I think it takes place early enough in the film that it makes sense, and I think it's good.
I didn't not like it, but it was just another one of those weird things.
Yeah.
What was the bit that they cut later?
So later on, they find that Playboy helicopter made a forced landing because it didn't have enough fuel.
Ah.
And Willard trades 2 tanks of fuel so that the boys on the boat can have 2 hours with the Playboy girls.
Oh.
And apparently they can't have sex, and it's a comment on American impotence or something. Anyway, so that was one of the things that was cut. Not in the original cut, was in Redux and was cut again for final cut. And I think, good. Like, I don't know why you would need that. Maybe it's a good scene. I'd be interested to watch it once.
Yeah. I think that it probably, payoff.
I guess.
Yeah.
But why do you need payoff in a fever dream magic realism bad trip?
That's a really good point. One last comment. Pretty good quote for the end of the saying, these soldiers, they're not allowed to write fuck on their planes, but they're allowed to firebomb villages.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucked up. Yeah. One last thing. So many things are from this film and I didn't realize. Good Morning Vietnam.
Smell of napalm
in the morning.
The horror.
Charlie Don't Surf.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. Yep.
You didn't catch that? When he said, fuck them, Charlie Don't Surf, we're going in, we're going to surf their beach. Yeah, wow. I don't know if this discussion is done. I don't know if I've sat with this enough or like.
Right.
I didn't write any notes for this because we were in a cinema and it was a dark film, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that I had not watched it prior to this.
Yeah.